Hey guys, I will be the intro for this I Suck at Fantasy podcast today. We have our reoccurring guest here, Dan Miller, Mr. Texas himself. We got me, myself, and who's this guy with a bag on his head? His name says Peter Schmidt.
Can't even show his face
on Zoom. Peter, you want to talk for yourself?
You know, I feel like the 0-16 Saints. I feel like the 0-16 Detroit Lions. But we just hired Motor City Dan Campbell to come in and lead our team to the promised land. We might end the next 3 games losing by 3 50-yard field goals, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. Welcome.
I don't know if you guys want to fill in the listeners, but Dan and Pete played last week, and this was the bet.
Yeah, for our serious listeners out there, you know, and those listening on the MP4, I think we topped the charts on Spotify. It was us and then Joe Rogan last week, so it was really cool to see. I appreciate all the support that we're getting on the pod. You know, I've got to wear a bag on my head. My team stinks. We went back to the drawing board, and we threw some mud at the wall, and we're gonna hope it stinks. So we'll talk about it as we get into this pod. But spoiler alert, I came in dead last in all the power rankings, and you know, rightfully deserved. So I owe somebody $5. I just remembered that, so that makes, you know, adds insult to injury. So, you know, hopefully Emily isn't listening.
You know, a quick saber metric before we start the show. With that performance from Peter's team last week, in the last 4 weeks, he is 1-35 against the field.
Oh. Hey, at least I'm tied for last. Rams.
Yeah, my saber metric that I've got is that over the last 4 weeks, Peter, I still have a better record than you. That one win, though, came against you. So how valuable is it? Not that.
Oh, man. Things are rough. Things are down. But, hey, you know what they say? Every good story needs a dark beginning.
All right,
let's go with the reaction. You might have hated that, but... All right, shall we move along? I'm going to pull this up. We'll keep it right here for the pod. Let me go ahead and start sharing here, and we'll get into things. All right, let's share. Can you see?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, so pod update. We officially have a call-in line. 1-800-FANTASY. Now, last few nights since I've registered this, I've gotten some mysterious phone calls from some old gentlemen around 3 in the morning. 1-800-FANTASY seems, I couldn't tell you why, but that's very interesting conversations at 3 a.m. in the morning. But we officially have a call-in line. Those who have needed to know the call-in line and potentially will be calling in today or not calling in today have it, and maybe we'll have some mysterious guests and some listeners that aren't even a part of our league. So. Or maybe they are a part of our league. So we officially have a call-in line that will be circulated out, 1-800-FANTASY, and the real number will follow through. So any reactions to the big pod update?
Only snafu I see with the call-in line is we usually publish these about 14 hours after we record them. Are we going to start going live? Is that our next move?
Oh, we've got workarounds.
Ooh.
People who have expressed an interest to call in have the number.
I think
Do they know we're live?
I think we are finally making it big. Pete's got all those subscribers on YouTube. We've got those views almost in the triple digits, I'm guessing, by now. So
we are over triple digits total, I believe. We're at 9 subscribers, so we will be doing a massive giveivaway for our 10th subscriber. You will get
Adam
the bag. And inside of the trash bag, I pull out Adam Thielen.
Ice cream bars.
All right, so that's our pod update. Let's move along here. we've got, I had back-to-back pod updates. That is a snafu here. Weekly recap. So some interesting matchups that happened this week, some things that flipped on the final day. Nick, as we all know, that things might have gone, haywire for you on Monday night. But let's talk through the matchups. We can start here at the top. You and O-Eater are tied, which I believe is Dan Miller. I have thought I have made a lot of trades this week, which I have, but I keep seeing my name, Peter. So when a trade comes through and it says you and Peter, I keep thinking that I have made that trade and have been quite versus Will Zalatoris. So Dan took it down. Like Dan said, I'm 1-35 against the field the last few weeks. But hey, might as well be 1-35 than 32-35 and be 0-4 over the last, or 31-35 over the last 4 weeks and lose to the field. So any big takeaways from this matchup?
I think so. My team second lowest score this week. It picked the right week to kind of take off and put its feet up, but that just means it's going to come back strong to keep Nick tied with Peter.
Ooh, interesting. My takeaway from this week is that I am the best at doing the power ranking. We had 2 close matchups as far as Cole and Chris, and then also the Molesky and Berg matchup. I had them 1-2 in my rankings. I had Chris above Cole, and I had Ben against Berg, and both those outcomes came true. So whatever my power rankings are this week, they are the truth.
And Nick, any comments? I mean, going into Monday night, you felt, I can't say overly confident, but somewhat confident that you might be able to squeak out a win. But to come out on the other side, losing by just under 18 points has got to just be a devastating blow to what looked like a promising week for your team.
Yeah, Marquise Brown had he had 1 target, 0 receptions, 0 yards at halftime. And I was still just like, it's over. I had no faith because all it takes is 1 40-yard touchdown. That's what he is. So I was ready for it. So when that happened, I put my head down and looked at my Nintendo Switch, my newly acquired Nintendo Switch, and played a little bit of Rocket League with the boys because this fantasy football, this season's getting out of hand quickly.
Right there with you. I'm 1-4 and dead last in both my leagues. So why am I hosting a fantasy podcast? I don't know. But at least I titled it before we started, I suck at fantasy. So I wasn't lying. All you listeners, you might as well go listen to something else because clearly you're just going to get a bunch of garbage information regarding fantasy. At least just mute me when the podcast is on. So let's move along. Any other items from weekly recap?
A couple matchups surprised me. Seeing that Chris is still riding the luck wagon, I guess stands out. Seeing that Shaw's team somehow puts up almost 150 points, a little surprising. And a little sabermetric, this is the first time Ben's team has scored over 115 points.
Sounds like my sabermetric from last week. That he hadn't scored over 115 yet.
Hey,
smart sabermetric. I love it. Resonates with me.
Hey, big performer this week out of Antonio Brown, Devontae Adams.
And
that was a nice
Lamar for 41. I mean,
that's
200 yards for Adams. It was Ben's team is
an
the most
impressive
confusing in this league.
Yep. All right, that moves us along to trade talk. I think we've got a lot here to recap and talk about. So Nick, you're the smartest one here, so I think you can go ahead and kick us off on trade talk. Maybe where you want to start, being a bystander in a lot of things that have swirled this week. But Nick, kick us off.
So I know there was a lot of trade. I mean, Mr. Milk said it best. You guys trade so fucking much. He's not wrong. I have never been a part of a fantasy league that has traded this much. Honestly, combined this one season in 5 weeks or whatever it's been, has been all the trades I've made all together in the last 5 years. I know Dan, I'll let Dan probably talk a lot about his trades and Peter yours. I'll touch on my trade with Cole, made a trade, got Calvin Ridley, gave him Keenan Allen. Both pretty fair wide receivers. Not much going on there, just avoiding buys. So helps my team, helps his team.
Yeah, I think the one trade that I made that people forget is hustling Shaw by giving him Latavius Murray right before the Monday night game, in which he scored, I think, 4 points. And I was also able to unload that bum Allen Robinson. So
for the listeners, because you don't get the full story, I do have the full story. Dan came over about 15 minutes in a deep sweat, knowing he had to get rid of Murray before Monday night kicked off. He's like, guys, where can I make this trade so you guys don't listen in? I've got a mystery on the other end trying to make a trade. Goes into Ben's room, Ben blares music. He did the entire trade from our bathroom. So that's where that was his boardroom for the week to make that move.
Hey, the front office.
I mean,
is
just some real good front office work out of Dan. But things, I just have to do a quick interjection here. Things have just gotten very interesting. We have our first caller on the newly acquired 1-800-FANTASY line. So my intern back here actually plugged it in. It looks like we have, is it Alex from Philadelphia on the line with us?
No, this is Ryan from New Jersey.
Oh, Ryan from New Jersey. What's your question today?
Actually, so I've been a listener of the I Suck at Fantasy Football podcast for about 2 weeks now. Probably your number one listener. And I just have, honestly, some disturbing news to report. I think it's time I need to go public. I found out about this 2 nights ago. I think there's some collusion going on in the league, and I just, figure I'd have to come to the surface with this.
Wow. Yeah, for those of you on Sirius right now, would you mind, we've got a lot of listeners out on Sirius, so I'm going to start sharing the screen here. Would you mind expanding upon what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so let me first start off and say I am unbiased, completely unbiased. I'm just a listener out of New Jersey.
Just Ryan from Jersey.
Yes, from New Jersey. Again, my name's Ryan.
And so just I know you listen on YouTube, so you'll see this. But once again, for our serious listeners, I have the graphic up here, and it says Alex Shaw Moss for Claypool. I believe that's your screen name, right? You accidentally mistyped Ryan when you were younger, setting up your AIM Messenger account, but now you just stick with Alex Shaw on GroupMe for undisclosed reasons. Is that correct?
Well, so I will say I am a fan of Alex Shaw. But no, I have no affiliation with him whatsoever. I'm just a fan of the league and like to keep up with you guys.
Hey, we're happy to have you. Happy to have you, Ryan. So could you dive a little bit more into maybe the disturbing news and the collusion that you have? I'd like our listeners to potentially hear this.
Yes. So I found out about this trade as you guys did. I got some people on the inside, and they send me trade updates because I'm so like I said, intertwined with the league. And I found out that Chris made a trade with Dan Miller, Zach Moss, for Chase Claypool. And turns out, not within 24 hours of that trade was that trade offered to Chris, and he turned it down. So I do some digging, and I hate to say it, I think there's some discrimination against the people on the East Coast in your league.
These are big words you're throwing around.
Because as I found out after doing some digging, my personal favorite of the league, Alex Shaw, is the only one living on the East Coast. And I just can't understand how someone would make a trade within 24 hours of being offered the trade and denying it and then accepting the trade.
Let me interject one quick question, and I want to get back to your story.
Also, wait,
is North Carolina on the East Coast or West Coast?
Yeah, poor Cole.
Oh, he doesn't count. He lives in Madison. Let me actually rewind for a second. Also, I heard Dan talking earlier about how he made a trade for Latavius
I was
Murray.
going to bring this up. I'd like to hear a little more on your thoughts, especially being Alex Shaw's number one fan.
Well, no, I'm a fan of everyone. Everyone equally, actually.
Except for Cole. For some reason, you hate Cole.
No, I love Cole. No, that's untrue. So I actually think Alex Shaw won that trade. Unbiased, by the way. I think I said that before. Unbiased. I don't want that bum. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think Alex Shaw would want that bum Zach Moss on his team. But anyway, Peter, I would love to hear, as a listener and someone who wants to see a league that has integrity, your opinion on what happened 2 nights ago. I mean, to me, I don't know if I can keep watching this league knowing this kind of behavior is going on. There's got to be some backdoor deals going on. Don't you think?
Ryan, let me jump in here as a member of this league, someone that was firsthand with this trade. I've known Alex Shaw for a long time, and he's kind of a mean guy, and which would explain a lot of why Chris didn't want to make a trade with Shaw. Shaw, arrogant, mean, memes all of us, makes us feel bad. So a nice guy like me comes along, talks with Chris, sees what his needs are, talks to him about Claypool. He's a lot more likely to make that trade than just group me messenger. So Ryan, if you were in this league like us, you would see that as well.
Interesting. I'm sorry, but I just can't take the word of the commissioner on this, especially since we were involved in the trade. I'd love to hear the other 2 gentlemen in the room's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, when we sort of bump it up against other major leagues right now, I mean, with the NFL signing a $110 billion deal, rivaling our $100 billion deal with, ESPN networks over the last few years to air the podcast. And, we're in negotiations with Spotify for a pretty large deal. But anywho, with the magnitude of this league, I believe it was actually Sunday or Monday that I, as head of the podcast, said, I'm going to launch a full email text message investigation and group me investigation against this league. So Ryan, I am going to rest assured that moving forward, we are going to have no craziness, no fleecing, no cheating in this league. Otherwise, they will be
backdoor
like
deals.
Gruden.
Are you going to make sure there's no backdoor deals? Because I think that's, as me and many other listeners of this podcast feel, that there were some backdoor deals going along that, maybe unfair to the rest of the players in the league.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to include that. We've been on the phone with consultants from Deloitte and McKinsey, just kind of working out who's going to be really running this investigation for us. But, I think the time is very limited for some individuals in this league because of things that have been done in the past, the way that they have, done their rosters, the way that they have made trades, and the way that they've, maybe gone about making other people not feel so great. And so obviously we've seen in the news lately that we've had some major coaches exit. I think we'll see even more breaking news out of this league, and we could potentially have some major head turners as we move along here in the season.
Yeah, I
checking
appreciate
emails.
you guys really looking into this. I mean, it just seems, from the surface here, it seems like there's got to be some shady shit going on. And as a listener, it's just tough to hear and, watch and, it's support, honestly. It's hard. I tell everyone to subscribe to this podcast, to watch the league. And it's hard to put, my full support into this when you hear about stuff like this going on.
Well, Ryan, I'm on your side, but the only question I have is how many friends do you have? Because currently we're sitting at 9 subscribers. So how many people are you actually telling? And make sure that you tell the people that are about to subscribe that we're doing a major giveaway for number 10 subscribers. So listen to the front end of the podcast to hear it. But Ryan, I think that's all we've got for today. You've been our longest phone call to date and our shortest phone call to date because you are our first phone call to date. But Ryan, anything you'd like to leave our listeners in our podcast with?
Nothing really. I just hope that everyone keeps it above the knees and continues to play fairly for the rest of the league.
Hey, well, then I wouldn't recommend going out for Motor City Dan Campbell's kneecap biting team up there in Detroit because that is below the knees.
All right. Thank you, man. Go Birds.
Hey, take care, Ryan.
Man.
While we're on the topic of checking emails, I just want to make sure that there is not one email in Berg's inbox and sent box that is not read thoroughly. because I think we'll find some interesting things in there.
Yeah, you hate to hear the stuff about John Gruden. You hate to hear the stuff about the iceberg, what he's been saying. You know, things are coming to light in this league, and you just don't want to see it.
Wrong side of history for Berg. It's sad.
Yeah, the power rankings reflect it.
So any thoughts on Trade Talk? Great electric first caller ever. Happy to have Ryan dial in. Maybe he'll be a caller next time around, and we can get some predictions out of him. But excited to have more callers. But Nick, any other trades or Dan trades you'd like to talk through?
I think Peter and I's is going to be interesting. I think we'll see how that develops as the weeks go on.
Mm-hmm. I think it's got some juiciness written all over it for future. So power rankings this week, we're going to transition along here to our power rankings. I decided to do power rankings a little bit differently this week. For those of you on Sirius, you know that we always kind of talk through and do a reveal. But this week I did an aggregation, week 5 versus week 6. And so we can maybe look at some discrepancies, some big changes over the week. Some of the big differences between guys rating, Dan, Nick, and I rating our power rankings here. But let's walk through the power rankings. So at number 1, outside of myself, Dan and Nick both had Toy at number 1. So Dan, Nick, which is an improvement from last week. He only had one number 1 vote, and it's second and third place vote. So definitely a step up for Toy. Team looked great. But there, Nick, what did you see out of Toy's team this week that allowed you to bump him up quite a bit? Oh, you didn't bump him up, Nick. You were at 1 already, so you kept him right there. But what did you see out of Toy's team that you liked this week?
That he got super lucky. All right, he got 30 points out of Marquise Brown. He got 30 points out of Mike Williams. 30 points out of Eckler. The Browns literally pushed him into the end zone. That was here's your number 1 spot again because I picked you last week, but there's dark times coming again for Toy here upcoming when we go through the matchups.
Yeah, and I think a big notable is losing Russell Wilson. We're going to see some streaming over the quarterback position and also a roster spot. I don't know if Russell Wilson's been designated to the IR, but a roster spot potentially taken up, which could be an interesting come bye weeks. So number 2, the number 2 consensus here was Dan, which is about steady par for the course last week. You got, a 1 vote, a 2-2 votes last week, and a 2-3 and 2 this week. Nick, what did you see out of Dan's team that led you to hold steady at number 2?
Yeah, I've got some sabermetrics for that I'll mention later. He's number 2. He's made some good trades. He's made some interesting trades. So yeah, I held firm at number 2. No change there for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think, Dan's team is solid. Can go up against any team each week and win. And once again, you can see him, have a floor that, come in the last 2 weeks, not super high. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out as he gets into a matchup where my team just unfortunately barely, ever clips 100 points. So, we're going to have to eke out a couple lucky victories this year to make the playoffs. But let's move along. We got Ben at the consensus number 3. I actually had him number 1 in our power rankings from the performance of his team last week. And because of the ceiling that we saw out of some of his players, like we saw Antonio Brown go for almost 30 points. We saw Lamar go for 41 and actually figure out how to throw a football again and not just do it with his legs. So that impressed me. And I think, Najee Harris has been an absolute stud. I'm happy to get Ben in a week next week when Najee Harris is on bye. Although about all of my team is on bye, so it might be Jonathan Taylor v. Ben next week. So that'll get interesting. But you guys had him at 3 and 4. So what are your thoughts on Ben's team here?
We both dropped him. Dan's original rankings had him number 1. My original rankings had him number 3. And then when you go back and look at the numbers, second least points again, his team, Lamar 40 points, Antonio Brown 30 points. Like, you kind of peel back the onion. Chris Carson hurt. I think there's some holes and some issues Ben might have to keep facing.
Agreed. He did it in a week. I will say for Ben, he did it in a week where Waller only put up 6. So to watch him have a highest scoring week without Waller performing is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see out of his team. Ben or Chris consensus kind of middle of the pack. He bumps up a ranking this week to the 4th spot. 5 out of Nick. So what did we see out of Chris's team this week?
This is where my first fun fact comes in too. Yeah, I'm gonna guess he has one too. Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
This fun fact is, well, here we go. We have Chris 4-1 in the league, right? And we have myself 1-4 in the league. Well, I went back and I looked at the numbers. If we're gonna flip-flop schedules, I would have been 4-1 in this league if I had the same schedule as Chris. He has had cakewalk after cakewalk. The only loss I would have had in that 4-1 week was Chris week 1. So these last 4 weeks have just been nothing but easy matchups. So I left Chris at 5 because he did pull out a win, but man, he has had some easy wins.
Yeah, and for our listeners out there who I know are clamoring to know this information, I would, if I flip flop schedules with Chris, I would still be 1-4. Dan, over to you.
If I flip flop schedules with Chris, I would be 4-1. I think Chris has had the easiest schedule. He has been begging to be respected in this league, and I think in order to do that, he's going to have to beat some giants. But I think this pot of gold is going to run out.
And we'll tell him. All right, we move on to Berg. We've got some gaps here in what we think, maybe not the biggest one here, but we've got a 3 out of Nick. So quite high. He actually moved Berg up from last week. Then we have a 6 and a 5. So he comes in at our number 5, so dead middle there. What did we see out of Berg's team this week? And Berg was also active on the trade game.
Yep. My complaint about Berg was always that he was too dependent on the Chiefs. He went and fixed that. He got D-Hop. He's got Kittle coming back in a couple weeks. And then he upgraded at running back. So I thought he made a good move. I think, yeah, he didn't get the win against Ben, but again, he put up solid numbers. So I don't see why he can't keep rising.
Yeah, I don't have anything against Berg's team right now. I think it's just hard to put a team that's 2 and 3 in those top 4 spots. But I see a lot of potential out of Berg's team, and I think he could very well find himself in the top 3, if not 1, as this league goes forward.
Moving along to Cole's team here. I got Berg this week, so I'm excited about that. But Cole's team, we've got him at the consensus number 6. I had him at 8. I thought that the losing Saquon was an unfortunate injury for him. And, he traded for Allen, who now lowers his ceiling from Ridley, which, obviously he's getting out of a bye week there. I also thought that Cole had the most interesting waiver wire of the week because when I logged in at 11:05 and saw I did not get Kadarius Toney for 13 fab, I saw that Cole put in a bid for 31 fab on Kadarius Toney. Obviously, we saw the numbers he put up last week. That's a lot to throw there on a guy on the Giants that you're not replacing Saquon with. You're just betting on another guy on the Giants. So really interesting off the waiver wire this week. But what do we see out of Cole's team?
Cole's team is getting better week by week, which is nice to see. I see the fact that even though Saquon goes down, the way Cole has, I think, 8 running backs, or basically enough running backs for the entire league, I don't see much of an issue of him plugging that hole.
Yeah, I like Cole's team. Lots of running backs in a league that everyone's looking for one. So I have him pretty high this week.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I actually had him high last
Nobody
week.
could get
Wow. Sorry.
Yeah. Nobody could decide what they wanted to do with Milk. I had him at 5 with McCaffrey coming back, and I like Kupp and I like DK Metcalf on his team. I think those three guys. I know his running back 2 situation is a little bit of a firestorm. But Nick, you had him second to last, which very much surprises me. So I'd be curious to hear what we think about Cole's team.
Yeah, so the Milkman, McCaffrey is only a 50-50. McCaffrey's still 50-50 to play, so he's still probably not going to play. Metcalf without Wilson. Rodgers is an incredible quarterback, but for fantasy purposes, he's one of the weaker ones on the starting lineup. So all in all, I just don't see Milk's team being that strong right now.
Dan, any thoughts?
No, I think Milk puts up solid numbers each week. McCaffrey is trending to be back, and I think that the next few weeks are really going to decide where Milk falls in this power rankings and league going forward.
Moving up some spots at number 8, consensus-wise, we have Shaw, who even had a few 7 votes. A couple of 7 votes. I've been impressed with Shaw's team. He's got a big performance out of Pitt. Jamar Chase is looking like the real deal out there in Cincinnati. And then Mike Evans put up big numbers. So I was impressed to see his group of ball catchers to be doing quite well this past week. But what do we think about Shaw's team? Clyde Edwards-Helaire obviously going down, so he's going to have to plug some holes at running back. But that's not a major hole to plug. But over to the pod.
I love Shaw's resilience. I must say, I think it's that East Coast tough. He does not give up, and he's been putting up numbers each week, and he is making a playoff push, which, looking back at weeks 2, 3, 1, I could not foresee this happening.
And I think what else can help his power rankings is clearly he's got a cheering squad on the East Coast. So Ryan, we're happy to have you on today. Once again, hopefully you become a recurring guest on the show. If the intern at my place that set up 1-800-FANTASY gets a little wily, we might have a job opening for you. So that moves us along to Nick. Nick is our consensus number 9. Nick obviously is a fantasy guru. It's a little bit scary to see him this low. In the neck of the woods with myself, who knows nothing about these guys. But what do we think about Nick's team?
Oh my God.
Nick is the self-proclaimed fantasy Stephen Hawking, and I think
I've never once
he is
said
half
that.
right. Nick's team is a lot like Stephen Hawking, wheelchair bound, just can't put it together. He is lacking the brilliance that Stephen Hawking brings to the table. But I must say, his team, much like Stephen Hawking, not very mobile.
Okay. Well, I don't know what happened within the last week that made me drop that far. I mean, I scored over half. I was a top half scorer this week. I scored over 140 points. So I don't get why you dropped me so quickly. I will add that me and Peter are nothing alike, and the only thing in common is our record.
And that's all that matters.
So we all agreed the mirage of week 1, right? We can probably just throw the week 1 mirage out. Since that, I have outscored Peter by 25 points a week. And the biggest sabermetric that there could be, I have outscored Dan since week 2 by almost 3 points a week. So let's look at the rankings and see what that is.
I've got a sabermetric for you. Nick has won 1 game, and it's been against Peter. So, Nick, I think you can talk about why you're rated so low when you beat a team that's not Peter.
Fair enough.
Well, I guess we'll find out in the coming weeks. And that brings us to the bottom of the barrel. We actually have a new award here. It's our first ever even 1 or even 10. There has never been a consensus best, and there has yet to be a consensus worst since we have started the power rankings and aggregating them. Obviously, we're just in week 2. But, my team seems to just not want to score any points. We've made a few trades on the roster. So, gentlemen, what do we think about my team?
Michael's film, 2 thumbs down.
Down. I don't think we need.
Is there anything to talk about here?
You made some interesting trades. I think we'll just see how they develop, and we can talk about that when they go through and what happens with your roster.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move along. Matchup previews. Let me pull up the good old World Wide Web here. And where do we want to start with matchups here this week? I guess I've got mine pulled up. We can start here. So, Nick, Dan, I'd like someone other than myself to preview this and walk through what you see here.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yes, as I told the guys before, I did forget my notes back home. I am in a new location, a beautiful location. So my main takeaways here were that I actually really liked Peter's matchups compared to Berg. Um, I I don't know if I agree with starting Javonte Williams in the flex. That should be monitored as we move forward. As far as who I've got in this matchup, I weirdly am leaning towards number one, Will Zalatoris. I don't love it, but I think Bird might be hitting a wall this week for whatever reason. I think this might be the week Pete breaks out.
Yesterday on the call, we had. Oh, right. All right, I want to ask you one question. I'm not going to ask you about the trade yesterday, but I'm going to ask you one question. When Bird was asked D-Hop or Diggs, he answered D-Hop. Nick, what would be your answer, D-Hop or Diggs?
They're both. I mean, it depends on the matchup. They're so even. Neither of them. Diggs doesn't score touchdowns. Hopkins does. Diggs gets all the yards and targets. Hopkins doesn't. It depends on the matchup for me. They're so close. I'd probably go Diggs.
Dan, who would you go?
I go Diggs, of course. And as weird as it is, every sabermetric says don't ever bet on Peter. I've been betting on the Jets.
Not the ones on the golf course against you, but we'll keep those out of here. Keep going.
I've been betting on the Jets for 15 years. I won't ever learn. I really do think that Berg is just going to hit a wall this week. Just like Nick said, I think that the matchups aren't there. I think he's been riding high for too long, and I think it might be Peter's bounce back week. I could be wrong and Peter puts up 80 points, but we will see.
Agreed. Hey, Emily. Here's a red box that I'm going to hand to you.
Our computer. All right. So we will make our matchup predictions. We're doing it right now. So do we have a consensus?
This is so lame.
Bottom of the barrel.
I hate the way this
Peter versus Ice. Does anybody want to change it?
Nah.
I stand by
it. After what this Bird character has been saying, I don't know. He's so mean. So close-minded.
My God.
You know?
21st century, buddy. Come on.
All right. Well, strike a little the iron hot, I guess. Let's move along to Team Molesky versus the Milkman here. What do we see in this matchup, gentlemen?
McCaffrey 50-50. He's starting Darrell Williams, Metcalf without Wilson. Yeah, a lot of the issues I feel like are coming through on the Milkman side as far as who I lean.
So, little sabermetric. Out of the 5 games Milk has played, 60% of those games he has scored at least 130. Out of the 5 games Ben has played, he has scored only 1 game over 130, 20%. So statistically speaking, I got Milk here.
Pete, who do you got? Oh, wow. Jenks. I'm going to go with Ben. I think he wins this week. I think he found something last week. He picked up Devontae Booker, which I see. I would guess he'll start one of him or Collins in his RB2 slot. Probably a better option than a hobbled Carson. So I've got Ben, and I think he already learned his mistake last week with the defense malfunction. So
yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Ben here as well. I think that I think Ben's seen some luck these last 2 weeks. I think it's going to continue on. He's going to get a hobbled McCaffrey, and he got DK Metcalf without Russell Wilson, as you brought up. So I am going to go Ben here, and I would expect Darren Waller to put up big numbers against Denver.
Hey, great pick, Pete. Super smart pick, picking with the guy that's 7-3.
Hey, you know, I got to hitch my wagon to something. Not going to do it to those Temple football owls. All right, let's move along here. We've got Sam Darnold's ghost, and just here to be Dan. Very interesting. Also, maybe the individual who is least likely to talk trades in this league, just here to be Dan. But that has nothing to do with conversations that or text messages I sent out this week. But what do we see in this matchup?
So Cole's team is really coming on here. It's impressive how Cole has been consistently putting up numbers. His team has looked good, but Toy's team has also been coming on. He is number one in my power rankings. Toy has outscored Cole in the last 2 weeks, and where we've all been praising Cole's team. Cole is 1-4 on the year versus Toy. I'm sticking with Toy.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cole actually in this matchup. I think Alex got very lucky last week. I mean, Eckler, Williams, Brown, like he got a miracle Kelsey touchdown. And Russell Wilson's going to be downgraded to a Matthew Stafford. So Cole's got that Charger stack. Robinson's been a beast. I see it continuing with him. So
I'm going to go Toy here. I know Wilson's out. I think Stafford's going to be a nice plug and play. While Herbert, he does have that stack, I think a lot of those touchdowns and receptions are going to go to Eckler and Williams, who Toy does have. And after watching the Monday Night Football game, watching what Jonathan Taylor did to the Baltimore defense, I think Eckler's going to have another day. I think Mike Williams comes back down to earth, but I actually think Terry McLaurin has a decent week this week. And, I like Kelsey. Marquise Brown will come nowhere near what he did last week. And I just think that the tight end and flex position here is so so leans so much more towards Toy that I have a tough time picking Cole's team here against Kareem Hunt. I don't love him as an RB2. Obviously, he's been putting up decent numbers, but Arizona's got a pretty solid front.
So 2 Alexes, 1 Cole.
Nick had Cole.
All right.
Nick had Cole there.
That's fine. You can change it when we go down.
Quick with the trigger here. All right, let's move along here. We've got the Brady bunch writing Tom Brady and his age. I think Tom Brady might have thrown his age in points last week. But somehow Chris's team continues to get it done, and he is getting MVP performances from Tom Brady. He's getting performances from Deebo Samuel. He is getting performances from Leonard Fournette. I don't know. He might be the most confusing team in the league, going up against Shaw, who has continued to elevate each and every week. What a great pick. Not going against Jamar Chase not being able to catch footballs and picking him and watching him, going to tear up a Detroit Lions secondary this week. But what do we have here, boys?
So I've picked Chris both weeks. He's proven me right both times. So I know exactly how his team's going to perform each week, and I know he's going to lose. I have got Shaw this week. I think his one lifeblood has been Derrick Henry, and he's got the toughest matchup in the league against the Buffalo defense. So I don't see him breaking 100 this week, and I've got Shaw winning this.
Yeah, I've got a little saber metric for you. In the 5 weeks we've played this league, Derrick Henry and Tom Brady have averaged 52.4 points per week. He has averaged 17.2 more points than his opponent this season. So you can see, basic math, if Derrick Henry, Tom Brady falter at all, he is not going to win this matchup. Chris tried injecting me with the Leonard Fournette truth serum this week, and I denied that. So I am also taking Shaw again.
I'm going to go Shaw this week, just looking at the matchups. I absolutely love the matchups that he has in this. And then I also think that Tyler Lockett, if DK is going to suffer with Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett goes to a streamable wide receiver moving forward until Russell Wilson is back. So I am going to go Shaw here, but once again, Derrick Henry is liable to go for 75 points, even against the Buffalo D, because that man is an absolute battering ram. But I think the consensus, what is crazy is a team that nobody wanted to touch just took a clean sweep. We have not been able to decide on our number. We have more consistency on our number 8 and our number 10 power ranking than we do on our number 1 or our number 2 power ranking in toy. Fascinating stuff developing here. All right, let's move along, which I might be deeming the matchup of the week. Two guys that are just going to be duking it out. Maybe we have a little wager on the game, maybe not. We'll see. I've got a cool little bag they might be able to borrow. But some trades that went through this week. Both teams have been active in the trade department. But, gentlemen, let's preview the matchup. Start your engines. Let's go.
Take the lead, Nick. It'll be the first time and you have it this week.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
of course I heard what you said. You're so mean. No, I made that trade with Cole. I worked with
Nick, you went on mute, buddy. You went on mute.
Oh. I worked with my team this week again.
On mute.
I can't. Can you?
I can hear you.
Dan, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Oh,
now Nick. Now I can't
Nick
hear.
To go first. Nick starts talking, mysteriously goes on mute, and now as a fantastic leader of this podcast, Dan, I'd like you to start.
Okay, yeah. So I think...
Oh, I can't hear you either. Maybe it's me.
Interesting.
I can hear everyone. Yeah,
I can hear you too.
Can you guys hear each other?
Yes.
Oh.
His AirPods died. Well, I'll just continue to go. I think this matchup is an interesting one based on the fact that I have 4 players going on Monday night. Allen, Knox, AJ Brown, and Bass. I'm all about that Tyler Bass. I don't know. Anyway.
I'm back. Nick, let's go.
All right, Pete. Try and keep up. I traded away Keenan Allen to benefit my team next week, so that hurts me this week. I think my prediction here is that I'm down about 60 or 70 points going into that Monday night game with my 4 players left. Dan sweats it out. We get to the final play. Touchdown, Josh Allen. I'm down by half a point, and then my kicker misses an extra point and I lose. So I'm picking Dan.
Wow, this has been the first time in the league we have had someone not choose themselves. My notes are the same. We have no Allen. Ridley's on bye. Nick, I think you have a lot of question marks. How are they going to do? Are they going to keep up their performances? A big one in CeeDee Lamb. Cowboys offense is gross. And also 4 players on Monday night. It's going to be electric. I'm going to take myself as well. And I think Tyreek has a nice welcome to the team. I think he has a nice weekend. Peter, we can't hear you.
Oh, I think the Rams D could be one of Nick's highest scoring players this week. Them against the Giants with no Saquon and half of their offense out, they could go for like 30 points. That's not a knock on the rest of your team. I'm just saying I think the Rams D versus the Giants. Except Cole begs to think differently with the amount he spent for Kadarius Toney. I too am going to go with Dan here. I mean, I like the trade for him. I never have to play Stephon Diggs or Tyreek Hill again this year, which I think is big to get out of. And Tyreek Hill helps Dan's team quite a bit. No Alvin Kamara. So, you could see that, having some difficulties here, but Damian Harris against Dallas should be a pretty good matchup to pound the rock there. But anyways, I think Dan is going to win this one, but I don't think it's going to be by blowout. I think it's going to be closer, especially looking at some of these matchups. And what I think the quarterbacks are going to be pretty even in scoring. And I think Nick's going to get some surprise performances. You could see, this could be AJ Brown's breakout week. Especially with what we saw the way that Indianapolis was able to move the ball in the first half against Buffalo. Watch for Tennessee to flip the script a little bit and get it out of Derrick Henry's hands and make them go to the air. So I'm going to pick Dan here, but I think it's going to be closer than we think. Could get interesting. Nick might record-wise fall to the bottom of the league. But once again, my team stinks, so it'll probably be me. Nick probably wins. I pick wrong everywhere, and improve to 1-5 on the season and probably 0-5 this week in my predictions. So let's go over and set this up.
Yeah, I mean, if Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence can rip apart the Tennessee defense, I feel pretty confident Josh Allen can. Right, Dan?
Right. It's going to be going to Stephon Diggs, though.
Yeah, too bad you don't have them anymore.
Too bad. But they're going to be up big, and it's just going to be run the ball city.
Stephon Diggs in the NFC or in the AFC East moving forward. Love it. And a matchup against the Titans. But anyways, gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the pod. Felt like that one went pretty quick, maybe our smoothest one ever. So any big predictions that we have this week, what we're going to see out of the league?
Look for me or Pete. I don't know which one yet. One of us rocking the fat guy, all painted body at Soldier Field this weekend, rocking on the Packers. So one of us will be shaking our belly around.
Boys, a little question for you. What's a good under-over number for the amount of trades that are still going to happen by the Monday night game?
1.
Thinking 1? I was thinking 1.5. But
thinking 2. I don't think we're going to see any major trades. I could see some bench trades happening, some things kind of shuffle around. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to see any big blockbusters. I think we've had that for the week. I've completely reworked my team. I don't know if I have the ability to trade anymore in this league, but could be interesting. Is there anything that you have your eye on that you see might be developing at Iron Schefter?
I do not. Peter's desperate for a tight end, so maybe he'll be able to work a deal this week, but truthfully, I see that potentially being a next week thing.
We'll have to see what happens. My entire team's on bye next week, like I said. So Ben, I hope you've got a lot of guys on bye, but if your entire team goes down injured, I'm feeling pretty good about our matchup. But that's next week. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Start moving the chess pieces around now. But gentlemen, thanks for listening to episode 3 of I Suck at Fantasy.
We did it. Da, 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 da.